It is the 2nd of November, and our reading in this day in Baptist history is "At least they tried." Our verse comes from Mark chapter 1 and verse 38. And he said unto them, Let us go into the next towns, that I may preach there also, for therefore came I forth. During the first 50 years of the history of the missionary movement among Baptists in America, 192 males and 194 females were appointed for missionary service. This created an army of 386 soldiers of the cross in all. 52 missionaries of that number were appointed to serve among the Indian population in our land. However, one is startled to read time and time again that the appointees entered into the fray only to resign from the battle in a very short time. Discouragement hung as a pall over the efforts of many, and soon they resigned their commissions. A good case in point is Robert Edmonds, who was appointed to missionary service among the Shawanoes on November the 2nd, 1835. In less than a year, his ministry was terminated. After reading of the success of Isaac McCoy, one is struck with the fact that few missionaries persevered in the challenge that confronted them among the American natives. The difficulties of the work among the American Indians are worthy of our consideration. Let us realize that from 1819, gospel work was carried on among 17 different tribes. Great strides were made in translating parts of the scriptures as printing presses were set up among the Shawanoes, that's Shawanoes, in 1832 and the Cherokees in 1843. Not only were the scriptures provided, but even Indian newspapers came from these presses. Why then the failures? Let us consider the attitude of American believers first of all. Missionary appointees in the early 19th century discovered what many are still learning today. American believers are more interested in supporting missionaries who cross the seas than in underwriting missionaries who serve at home. Many who labor in difficult urban ethnic ministries in America today are hard-pressed to obtain prayer support, much less financial support. Secondly, the treatment by our government of Native Americans has been appalling and most devastating to the gospel ministry. After many broken treaties and the continual encroachment on Indian lands by white settlers who moved westward, the darkest hour of American history came in 1838-39. President Andrew Jackson proposed settling the Cherokee tribe in the Oklahoma Territory, 1,000 miles west. Fully one-third of the Indians forced to march died on the Trail of Tears. Such treatment undercut any confidence that the Native Americans had in the white man. Perhaps even more ravaging, however, has been the socialistic approach of the political scientists since that time. Our governmental leaders have set out to compensate for the cruelty of former days. Unfortunately, the method employed can only destroy any independence that Native Americans might establish, thus making of them a social welfare state. It is true that the standard of living that is provided by our government is merely above the poverty level, but American politicians have no idea that the divine plan of God calls for labor to be a fruitful way of life for fallen mankind. When one destroys the work ethic of any society, whether it be an urban city life in America or in the entire economy of a European nation through socialism, the end result is the destruction of accomplishment. Paul's instruction would well be heeded in our day. He wrote to the Thessalonians saying, This we commanded you, that if any would not work, neither should he eat. The destruction of ambition has led to a ruinous inertia. This in turn is transmitted from generation to generation and leads to the total degeneration of all that it permeates. The white man's liquor has become the red man's poison. Again, the greed of unregenerate white Americans is unconscionable. Family life among the Indian tribes has been greatly affected by the consumption of alcohol. In some Indian families, soon after the beginning of the month when the government checks have arrived, a drunken orgy begins and lasts until the newly obtained finances have been expended on alcoholic beverages. May God have mercy on America.